Hey everyone, this is Crafting for Mommy, and I would like to bring you another card tutorial. This is going to be quick and easy that you wouldn't believe that it only requires a few steps for you to get a very intricate card. As you can see, I have my Gemini Junior here on my desk today. We're going to use it because the star of today's tutorial are dun, 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 the two Gemini dies. I love a good intricate die, and I'm a sucker for things that are like this. Anything that is a gate that will give you some sort of a movement in your card. I mean, and this opens up. Oh, I'm all out for it. So we're going to use this, and I already have a gold foil Miri cardstock here. This is from Hunkydory that I bought from Create and Craft. I think sometime last year or early this year. So whenever they are on sale, I stockpile on these. So good cardstock, good weight. So one shiny metallic gold foil, and I already cut it to size to be easy. And we are also going to use a cut and emboss die. So this cut and emboss die is named Regal Gates. And this is how it looks like. So for those of you who are new to paper crafting or to Gemini or Crafter's Companion, an embossing folder gives dimension into your plain paper. So when you take it out, these intricate designs are going to be embossed in your paper. And I'll show you later what do I mean by embossing. Now, Crafter's Companion is one of my most favorite companies to buy craft supplies from because they're innovative. And one of the things that they came up with a year or so ago is this cut and emboss dies. I can't speak today. Cut and emboss dies. And what it does is that it embosses your paper and it cuts it at the right places at the same time. So you have this metal cutting die embedded on it. So what it means is that it's gonna be, one, make it easier for us for us crafters to do intricate panels like this. It's only gonna take one pass. And second is that it allows for these types of design to be not intimidating for beginner crafters or even for advanced crafters. It's a joy to work with because you're going to save so much time figuring it out. So this, I've already cut, by the way, another gold Miri cardstock for this. It's a little, it's a little bit in excess, but it's gonna work. I could just trim it off and save the scraps, save scraps like this because you could use it for embellishments or for some of your diamond press dies that are small enough to be, for you to be able to use. Okay, so we've got Regal Gates, and they call this the grand entrance. Okay, all right. On top of that, the second star of our card tutorial today is Hunkydory. I think I've been sharing on my previous card making tutorials of how much I love UK-based paper crafting companies because the quality of the paper is superb. The designs are so elaborate and essentially right up my alley. It's not always elaborate vintage feel, but there's just so much different designs in there that really appeals to me aesthetically. Hunkydory is one of my most favorite, and I've been using it for years. It occupies a certain wall, one wall in my craft room, and maybe at some point I might think of doing a craft room tour. I don't know. Are you guys interested in that? If yes, then comment below or let me know. Because if you're interested, then I'll do it. But anyway, I'm digressing. What I'm saying, going back to my Hunkydory, speech. I've been using Hunkydory for a long time, and for every paper crafting collection that they come up with, it usually comes with little books like this. So what are little books? So, and here's a good example. So it is 144 pages on a block like this. This usually measures, let's see, It's about 4.25 by, is it 5.75. So 4.25 by 5.75. And what it gives you are beautifully printed paper. This is paper, but has a little bit more weight on it. It's not cardstock either. And so sometimes, depending on the theme of the whole collection, they make it they make it in different finishes. In this particular case, deco, anything deco, art deco, art nouveau that Hunkydory brings out, I hoard them, and this is one of my favorites. So if you look, and let me just bring it up to you guys, can you see there's a little bit of shimmer in there, right? This is what they call their matte paper with a bit of shimmer. And if you could just look at the designs, it's all so beautiful. See? You get approximately 4 different pages on each design, because you have the option to cut it apart in layers and decoupage it. And I mean decoupage meaning the traditional decoupage, where you're going to cut this, fuzzy cut this, and essentially layer it on top of it. I love this straight up like a card itself. I don't know, I feel like I'm wasting a good portion of it if I'm gonna cut it. Maybe that's me, that's my weirdness, but for me it's enough with designs like this. It's enough to use this as a card topper the way it is. It's so beautiful. So let me flip through, hold on, let me flip through quickly on the designs, just so you guys can see how it looks like. I think I'm a little, oh okay, there you go. Okay. So look, I have used one of these earlier, and we are going to and I have a sample here. Once we're done, I'm going to show you how I use this. I'm using the same technique that we have. Look at this, right? They also have this. Maybe I'll put you guys closer. That's too close. Okay, closer, just so you could see the things, the flip through. I mean, I want you guys to have a good idea of what are the other crafting materials and companies out there. We don't hear from Hunkydory a lot here in the US, except if you go to Create and Craft US site. They started carrying this, and Sarah from the past 2 weeks have actually started some master classes regarding a certain collection they have. I think it's the blush collection. But there's so many that they bring, and I buy most, if not all, of what I have from Hunkydory and Kanban, which is another company with the same aesthetic, from Create and Craft US. Takes a while for it to go here to be delivered here in the US with the current situation, but it's okay. I mean, it's all from the UK, and for something as pretty as this, I'm willing to wait. So see, I mean, I hope just looking at beautiful images like this can get your creative juices flowing, right? So that's the delightful deco. And I also got something from this collection. It's Wonderful Wings. And look at this peacock. It's all about birds, butterflies, flowers. And there's so many things that you can do with this. You can cut this apart, decoupage it, maybe get 2, and then use these 2 sides as borders. Look at this. Look how vibrant this is. I mean, this can even be, the colors here can even be your inspiration when you're going to use your markers and watercolors, when you're trying to color a stamp that is a butterfly or also a bird. Right? Flamingos. This is wonderful. The color palette too is something that I love about Hunkydory. Depending on the season, when they do their spring collection and summer collection, you got vibrant or subtle pastel colors like this, in which the combination is wonderful. I myself most likely will not be able to pick this color combination, but if I get something like this, I could easily complement it with my choice of cardstock and embellishments. Okay, I tried to use something here from the Orient. I'm not sure if I think I have I have something. So this is really more of an Eastern type of influence. This is beautiful, isn't it? Look. You can even use this with your Anna Griffins, because it has the same color palette like the vintage and pale teals and pinks. Look. How gorgeous is that? Oh yes, this is what we are using today. Yeah. Okay. So let's start then. And the usual, I do have my collal glue, my usual supplies to get this going. Okay. So let's start then. Sorry, I just turned off my air purifier. Yeah, that's my air purifier. It's not a fan. Just so it's not gonna interfere with the sound. Okay, so let's start. Let me just die cut this. And let me just zoom you guys back out. Okay. So die cutting this. Look at my plates. It's like well loved. It's like bowed from every direction. I'm sometimes afraid to use this because I might cut myself, but so far I haven't. That hasn't happened. So for something like this, what my usual sandwich is, I have my plate, my sorry looking magnetic sheet, and what I do is that I don't cut through it. I made the mistake of cutting through it the first time that I used this years ago, and I just taped it with washi. It really cut through it. So this, we'll do the die face up. And since this is so exact in terms of measurement, I need to put tape over it. So I'm using like a low tack tape, and in my case it's washi tape. Okay. Let's do it on both top and bottom, simply because sometimes this shifts because my plate is already bowed. Oops. Okay. Then I have my no, I can't do my clear plate like this. It will cut through my clear plate. So clear plate at the back and in here. Since the die is intricate, sometimes they would ask you to put this for additional pressure. My experience that I don't need to use that if they given this combination, and sometimes it's just harder to push it in because again my plates are already bowed. Okay. Okay, and let's check this out. So I'm trying to be very careful in here, but you guys could easily see now that it just perfectly cuts through everything. Oh, look at that. And when I flip it over, let's use this to catch the small pieces of paper. So this I can just brush, but when you look into this, it falls apart already. You don't really need to do anything more than just weed through all of this. Okay, so we'll weed through that a little bit. Let me set that aside because I want to finish all my cutting already. So the next one we're going to cut is the cut and emboss folder. So I have my paper, and face up, because this is where they're gonna cut the gate and I want the shiny sides to come through, so just be conscious of that. And since the cut and emboss folder is thick, you don't need as much layer on your sandwich as I did. So I'm only gonna use the base plate, and if you notice, there's only one plate that I use against the blade of, or the cutting surface of the die, because I want one relatively clean. Just drives me nuts. And then once this is ready to be tossed, this is what I'm going to use as a cutting plate, and then a new one comes in. At least, you know, I am not cutting through all of my plates at the same time. Okay, so let's feed this through. I think, yeah, it didn't cut through well. I think we need additional. I picked through it, and look, it cuts, but it's not cleanly cut. I want it to be fall off the folder cut. So I just put in this. You know what? This might be too thick. Let me put in the magnetic mat. Okay, let's see how the magic happens. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Just look. So this is cut and emboss dies for you guys. It embosses it, and you call this dry embossing. And then the gate is perfectly cut through. Okay, so let me pause you guys for a bit while I clean up. You know me, I usually get driven mad with these small bits, and also to weed through all of it using my tool-in-one. Okay, so let me pause you a bit and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and this is how they look like when they've already weeded through. I haven't cut this yet because just so I could show you some tips and techniques on how to cut and to mount it on top of your card later on, considering the pages of the little books. Okay, so just a closer look. Can you guys see how intricate that is? I have missed a few bits and pieces here and there, but that doesn't matter. I can easily take this out, but look, right? And if you cut your paper the right way, what I did was I made sure that it's on equal spaces and so on and so forth. And then this, let's just look at that, right? Okay, so now let's get ready to assemble our cards. So I mean, that's, except for the sentiment that we're gonna use the diamond press later on, that's precisely the only cutting and embossing that you guys need. You're now ready to assemble. Okay, so let us start with the easy one. Okay, so this is from I think this is from the Eastern Orient book. It is from here, the Orient collection of Hunkydory. And I know that this this specific folder, or cut and emboss folder, is 5x7. And let me then cut it to size, just so it's going to go perfectly with my 5x7 card base. Okay, and to cut it, let me just bring you guys a bit closer. Is that easier? Okay, to cut it, you know what I'm doing is that I am just following the sides as my guide. Okay, so pardon me if my head's gonna get in the way. Okay, I don't think so. All right, just trying to make sure that I see clearly. Okay. scrap that we will use later on. This one, the bottom is the one that has a lot of space too. Let me just make sure that I see them. Okay. And this top in here too. Okay. And let me just check the sides. This side needs a little bit of trim. Okay. Put this aside and let's see if it will fit. So here's my card base, 5x7. And yeah, perfect, right? Yep, it's perfect. Okay, so before you stick that on top of your card base, this is the scene that you would like the gate to open into. So what my advice would be is that don't stick it yet, but use, you know, just put the cotton embossed gold foil cardstock on top of it and move your paper in accordance to how you'd like the view to be. Okay, so in this case I'm missing this big piece, but that's fine because I really want the flamingos, the 3 flamingos, to be part of the scene. I also want a good balance of the picture on top, or the elements on top, the overhanging flora. And also I want to make sure that there's also on the foreground or towards the bottoms that it's very clear that they are on water. So I think if I am going to layer my window like this, this would be, I think this might be the final position, right? I don't think it's lined up well. Yeah, I think this would work. So getting this out, if you notice, it's not aligned properly, but that's okay because you want to paste this in accordance to, or glue this in accordance to how you'd like it to be seen from your aperture. Okay, so I have just on the sides, I have just put a very light pencil mark before I take it out and glue it in. So since these are layers, I am using the solvent based collage just so it will not buckle my paper. Okay, and using the marks that I did earlier, I am now trying to make sure that it is in a position that I want and that the aperture of the gate will precisely open to the portion of this picture that I like. So let's test. Yeah, this is pretty much what I want. Okay, now this, I don't want this to be laid flat. I want this to have a bit of dimension. So we are going to use my Wonder foam tape. This is huge. I got this from the Scrapbook Expo years ago. And these are the things that I don't normally or easily see, you know, on local craft stores. Maybe I'm just not looking around properly. So when I saw it, I bought a few. This was during the time that there's a whole shaker card craze. And what I find is that it's very convenient to use this on elements like this where I want a lot of dimension. Okay, anything in excess, just cut and put it on the other side. Oops, I'm getting too excited. Okay, where's that? So, okay, you guys know me. any foam adhesive like this, I still make sure that I put my tacky glue on. I mean, the reason being is that from my experience, the cards that I made a while back, if it's only through foam adhesive, when the foam adhesive dried out, it falls apart. Sometimes also when you mail it and you're not being too careful, it falls apart. You know, the risk of it falling apart is higher than not sticking it with wet glue. So I like the tacky glue gel, again from Kulao. Let me just see, make sure that I only have a bit. And what I do is I just squeeze it a little bit like this, not too much, because you don't want this to be too wet either. Just enough. Okay. And be careful, because if it's on a mirror, you don't want any of this glue to transfer onto your finger. Otherwise, when you know, when you're trying to hold the gold foil side of your cardstock, it might smear and it takes away the shine. Okay, so knowing that this have a bit of, only a bit of border, I try to make sure that it's in the right position. Okay, you don't even need to have any what do you call this, sentiment at this point, because you could always have a nice saying on the inside through some of the stamps that we have from various companies. Crafter's Companion makes a lot of great sentiment stamps, and you can just stamp it on it. I'm just putting on a layer on here because when I usually write or make the layer that where I can write, I usually put it on ecru paper, you know, some sort of a glossy paper. So I'll just stick it in here using a dry tape glue. So that's it. I mean, that's card number 1. How easy is that? You just blinked and it's done. And look, I mean, does this look like something that you have done in 5 minutes? No. But the tool made it all work for us, right? Okay, let's set this aside to dry and let us do the next one. Okay, so for the next one, I'd like to do some easel cards. Top folding easel card is what I want to do, and I chose this image from the Deco Delights collection. Isn't it beautiful? It reminds me of Central Park, because the San Remo, the 2 towers that you see from Central Park when you're facing the Upper West Side, looks similar to this. Of course, it has 2 towers, and and Central Park is very close to home for me because I lived in Central Park West, across the Museum of Natural History during my first few years in New York. So maybe about 5 years. 5.5 to 6 years, yeah, 5.5 to 6 years, and I just walk a few steps, and I'm already at Central Park. And we used to, we used to go there with our dog. Since New York apartments are small, Saturdays are always special because we bring our bagel, our coffee, our New York Times weekend, which is always thick, and then we just, we plop ourselves in a patch of green grass in there, and then we just enjoy the Saturday morning in the park. And every night after office, what I do is that I walk inside the park with my dog, just so she and I have a bit of an exercise. So yeah, a bit of nostalgia right there, right? Okay, so what I wanted to do is to make this as an easel, and to do that, we need a scoreboard. I like a scoreboard. I know I can just put this, essentially just fold it in half, but I find that when I use the scoreboard, it's more polished. My crease is more polished, and I like that. I like a good quality item. So this is a 5.5 card. So 5.5, half of it is 2.75. So 2 3/4. So here, oops, no, I did it on 3. Okay, 2.75 is here. Okay, that's okay. I'm not gonna fold it in there. Let's take this out. This scoreboard is from Crafter's Companion. And it has glitter on it, look. So fun. I'm doing it everywhere. Okay. So this and this. Now this is a little bit tricky. The reason being is that we need to cut. Okay? So same thing. What you do is that you align it. Let me just zoom you guys in. You need to align the gate just so when you open the aperture, it is on the scene that you would like to see. So I like a lot of this overhanging elements, the trees, so I can cut some of the foreground, the grass part. So same thing, mark and mark this. It's only a trim. It's a hairline of a trim, so it should not be an issue. Now if I could see where I put it. Oh yeah, it's here. And this one, okay. Okay. Okie dokes. Alright. And by the way, in here, I want to mat this onto something, just so it has a little bit of rigidity. So let me just grab a cardstock. I want to... I want a good solid cardstock on this. So from my understanding, this is, what's the dimension in here? Yeah. See, I mean the scraps comes in handy, right? Especially if you don't really need too much paper. I mean, these are scraps that I have from making some characters using my Cricut. So now I could easily just, there you go. And what I just want is for this, I don't want to measure anymore. I mean, we could easily, not eyeball, but we could easily get this done by using this as a guide. Okay. And one more side. There you go. Let's see. Perfect. Yeah, I just want a little bit of rigidity on this paper because I'm going to pop it up and I don't want it to be flopping back and forth on an easel card. And you know, I usually achieve that by using or layering this using the collal all-purpose, because when this dries, it's so rigid that it feels like you have used cardstock on every layer that you did. Okay. So we don't need to have any of those orange paper showing. I just want it to be matted like this because we are going to do it this way. So if you notice too, it's not a perfect fit. So we'd rather adhere it for now. And then later on, we're gonna cut on the side just so it's tight. I mean, I really want the face of my card to exactly be this gold foil. Okay. All right. So when we're going to adhere that using adhesive, not of course adhesives, but using dimensional tape. So what I do, because this is so thin, like unlike the other one that you have a lot more real estate in terms of putting the glue, this doesn't. I don't think so. Let me check. But I am pretty sure it is, you don't have that much real estate. Hold on. I may be wrong. Ooh! No, I can. And here I am on my initial cards that I have done this morning. I was cutting the side of this dimensional. Yep, it will work. Whoops. It has a little bit of thing picking on it. I don't know. I'm not sure if I like that. Can we cut that using the knife? No, yeah, I mean, you could see it like this, and I don't like that at all. So, let us just cut some of it through a craft knife. Yeah, easy. Live crafting, right? You gotta fix what you can to save the project. Okay, let's set this aside and use the same method that I've been doing this morning. So what I did, you know when you have this pop-up dots dimensionals, they have this corner that for other people it looks unusable, but for me, I mean, these are still adhesives. So I cut on that side and put it here on our project. So at least it is so thin that you don't see it. Even if you do see it a bit, this is the cleanup that I'm going to do later on. So it's okay to not have a thick tape on it, because you are just going to, the objective is just to pop it up. We're going to add tacky glue on top of it, just so it's going to be strong. Okay, one more side. I think with one more side, the rest of this I can take out and use. There you go. Okay, same thing. Take the backing off. And no, see, I'm forgetting an important step. Now very gently, guys. I mean, don't put a big blob of glue in here, just a tiny bit. I mean, I even have way too much on that side, so just gently. It just gives enough, additional strength to it. And just make sure that this goes to, yikes, to the position that I want. Okay. If you've got glue on your hands like this, please don't touch the Miri cardstock, because look, it will take the shine out on where you have the glue seeping through. Let me just clean up a bit in here. That's why I have so much paper on the side of my tables, because for messy things like this, at least I can easily just wipe it on a paper towel or on the paper underneath. Okay. There. So you see that there are, certain layers that peeks through. So just use your frame as a guide and cut the excess off. I'm perfectionist when it comes to this. I really want this to be crisp, and the lines, all lines are perfect, neatly done. So I don't mind doing a step more to get it done properly. Okay. Okay. Before we forget, before we move on, we need the sentiment. So I am using this set from Diamond Press. I would check. I will link it below if I still see it. I think it's already sold out on HSN. This was sold 2 months ago. So the sentiment dies, I like this as toppers on my easel because it has a background dye on it, making the image a lot more solid, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, and it's easier to make it as a stopper rather than look for something else. So I am using the sentiment hello, just so my card have a bit of versatility on how I'm gonna use it. I plan to send it to those people that I miss hanging out with, especially with this pandemic. We haven't been out for a long time, right? So I want it to be on gold and blue because I'm trying to pick up the color, one of the dominant colors in this picture. So I want the background to be blue, and I want the sentiment to be gold. So let's run this through the marquee. Take the marquee out. We'll see you later, marquee. And just look how beautiful and how clean that cut. I mean, can you guys see it? Look, maybe this is better, right? In one pass. And this goes perfectly on top of this shadow. And this is what I'm saying in terms of having that shadow makes a big difference on how intricate or how chunky your sentiment would be. And in this case, I want a little bit of chunkiness because I'm going to use it as topper for my easel card. So for intricate cuts like this, you guys most likely have seen me use and depend on my Xyron sticker maker for this. I do not have the patience to use glue on this. Oops, did I do? Okay. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Hold on. Okay, it's not destroyed. There you go. And just line this up really well. Hello. Okay. Okay, let's finish the assembly. So I want a layer here that I can stamp on later on when I have a good understanding of how I'm going to use the card. I'm going to pick the appropriate sentiment at a later time when I'm ready to give it out or to mail it to friends. Okay, now the stopper, I want it to be here. Okay, so let's pop that up with foam adhesives. 1, 2, 3. I think 3 would be enough. Same thing that I do on everything that I glue. I take the backing off, and then I'm gonna put a small blob of tacky glue afterwards for extra strength. It's even too much. Okay. Hello. Okay. So this one, because we did the backing, remember we did we had the paper backing on it, it's now easier to glue only on the half of your card, please. All right, don't if it's an easel card, you shouldn't glue it on top, only on the half bottom, otherwise you're not going to be able to bend it. Okay, let me just lie this flat, make sure that this is all lined up. Okay, yes, it is lined up. It looks. Let's set this aside, and there you go. So let me just get the other cards that I made earlier. Here you go. So for this easel style card, look, when it opens, let me just show you guys. Okay, when it opens, it shows these two beautiful women enjoying a day in the park with their dogs. And when you send it, it stands up as an easel like this. See? I used the other images on the card on Hunkydory little book for others. So it's the same die, same sentiment, same technique, same size. The only difference is the image. I love this image. Yachting. Makes us think about spring and summer, right? And this one, it's also the same. Hello. But the image that I used here is an image of a bird. And then for this gate, let me get what we did earlier. So here, it's a regular card that we can put a sentiment later on when you know how you're going to use it. But when you open it, it has the beautiful flamingos. This I did earlier, same thing, no sentiment yet. But when it opens it up on a tea party on a lawn scene. Another Art Deco image from the Hunkydory books. Little books as they call it. And this one is from the Orient collection with this beautiful woman in the parasol. And same thing, I just matted it. No sentiment yet. I'm going to put the sentiment when I need it. Alright? So this, and this. And we have our easel cards that are just beautiful, intricate, and doesn't look like we spent 5 minutes, or let's say 10, because you need to set up your Gemini or die cutting machine and weed it through. But it definitely doesn't take long to get this done. And for something as intricate as this, it's as if you spent your whole afternoon, you know, making one. Alright, so I hope that is helpful, and I hope that gives you ideas of not only using this fabulous dies from Crafter's Companion, but also making the most out of the Hunkydory books, and makes you think of how much of a good value it is. One block is 144, so you can make 144 cards of this if this is the style that you're going to make. Okay, well, that's it, everyone, for today. Have a good weekend and happy Friday. Bye!